I'm basically going to have conflicting things to say about this because, to me, Donald Trump, or an effort to impeach Donald Trump, should have been done when children at the border were killed, when his administration put out procedures to ban Muslims from 7 countries. Not saying it as a candidate when they actually did it. There are so many things preceding. This Donald Trump talking to the Ukrainian leader about investigating Joe Biden that he should have been, or potentially could have been, opening up impeachment inquiries. Frankly, they could have been opening up impeachment inquiries into the fact that he's not removed from his company. The fact that ambassadors from other countries and high-level, powerful people from other countries are literally, essentially hanging out with lobbyists at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C. to curry favor with the Trump administration. The corruption of the Trump administration, this is not a new thing. Him trying to lobby a Ukrainian leader to basically look into Biden is terrible. It's wrong. It is unlawful. It cannot stand. I agree. But this is the straw that broke the camel's back? When you have all these other things before that? To me, I don't understand that. Secondly, then you have the rule of law crowd, and it doesn't matter if there's an election in 1 year. We can't have this as a precedent. We can't just allow this man to totally, act as a dictator, act as a king, do whatever he wants. So to hell with how it affects the election. And then you have the reality of, will it affect or get him reelected? To me, no, I do not think you could let any person, whether it's a corporate Democrat, a Republican, or a marshmallow, lawlessly break the law. I do not think that, even though obviously, clearly, Donald Trump is not going to be impeached. The House could impeach him. The Senate is not going to impeach Donald Trump. So obviously, this is not for. Nancy Pelosi did not announce this today because she thinks he's actually going to be removed from office through impeachment. Nancy Pelosi is calculating that impeaching him now on this Ukrainian thing could potentially help the Democratic nominee beat him, because this is a tipping point to the Democrats. I just want to say, to be clear, I do think this thing with Ukraine is not the first thing, and is not the worst thing, frankly, that should have brought impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump, President Trump. But I do think, I can't argue with them wanting to impeach him on this. I cannot. He is fundamentally acting as a dictator, enlisting foreign leaders to go after your political opponents. I mean, I don't know anyone objectively who could defend that other than, Fox News. But, right, House will impeach him, Senate would convict. But I gotta be honest with you, I have a very hard time rallying around Nancy Pelosi or rallying around Chuck Schumer or rally around these corporate Democrats that are, indignant and we have to protect the sanctity of the rule of law when they're all corrupt themselves. Yes, Donald Trump should be impeached. But do we honestly want to sit here and say that this is genuine coming from Nancy Pelosi and these people? And this isn't a political calculation that this will help the Democrats retake the White House by impeaching him over this? Why now? Why this? And by the way, I really hope those transcripts that are going to be released tomorrow, in them, say what the Democrats are saying they say. Because if they do not, if Trump does not specifically call for this Ukrainian leader, and Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm buzzy on this. Was this the Prime Minister of Ukraine or the President of Ukraine or somebody else? That I don't know. If it doesn't say that, the Democrats just reelected Donald Trump, because that is the largest ammunition. That is the largest ammunition you could give him. That is the largest ammunition you could give this president if those transcripts don't say what this impeachment inquiry is saying they say. So, on one hand, I do think Donald Trump should be impeached. But on the other end, I think what they're doing right now very likely will lead to his reelection. I do. So on one end, like I agree with the Ocasio-Cortezes of the world, who I don't think is corrupt, by saying we can't play politics. We can't say, oh, well, we can't take into account how it will affect an election. We can't let a president be a lawless dictator. I agree. President. Thank you, Jen. The question becomes, should Donald Trump be impeached over this, and how will it affect his reelection? I'm going to play for you a video that Donald Trump's campaign put out today. And then I'm going to tell you why I think the Democrats are handing Donald Trump essentially a ticket to 4 more years of this tyranny. And frankly, some of you don't agree with this. I think Donald Trump, 4 more years of Donald Trump is way worse than President Warren. I think you guys are crazy if you think 4 more years of Trump is worse than President Warren. I'm not saying there's going to be a President Warren. I'm still covering Elizabeth Warren critically. I'm not going to just turn it off because she's surging in the polls. But you really need to understand, 4 more years of this guy, unshackled, he doesn't have to worry about re-election. If you think it's been bad now, and if you think the gasoline he's been pouring on to our already planet that's being destroyed, you might not have a planet with another 4 years of Donald Trump. In 10 years. This is what the Trump campaign put out, and I think you're going to see a lot more of this soon.
Credibility to his assertion. Not one single one.
Now to our ABC News investigation this morning into Joe Biden's son Hunter and questions about money he made from foreign business dealings while his father was vice president.
You have a big story tonight on the New York Times website. Tomorrow, page 1 of the print edition.
Was Hunter Biden profiting off his dad's work as vice president, and did Joe Biden allow it? We're talking about millions of dollars in at least 2 countries.
We have Joe Biden as vice president having intervened to sort of force the firing of a Ukrainian prosecutor who happened to have an open case looking into a company, a Ukrainian gas company that was employing Joe Biden's son.
There's no reason to pay Hunter Biden $50,000 a month.
Hunter Biden worked for a natural gas company in Ukraine, which is totally fair game. Did the vice president's son use his dad's influence to make money somewhere in the world? That's totally fair game.
Potential conflict of interest there that I think Joe Biden will have to answer for.
Hunter Biden's work with the company reportedly sparked concern among State Department officials.
But was it right for Hunter Biden to take a job like that in Ukraine while his father was engaged in diplomacy there?
There is a story here. We've told some of it. There's more to be told.
I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money.
The reason I played that for you, Donald Trump is the king of muddying the waters. Donald Trump is the king of misdirection. Donald Trump is the king of basically taking his corruption and sticking it onto somebody else and saying, no, he's corrupt. To the point where people look at him and say, oh, but what about what Biden did? And it cancels each other out. Bottom line, they're impeaching him over this Ukrainian thing, but Donald Trump is going to be able to muddy the water and cite the fact that there has been criticism of Joe Biden over this. So even though he did do something that is totally unlawful, totally unacceptable, his base is going, it's like poking a bear that's in hibernation. The only way the Democratic nominee is going to win, whoever that Democratic nominee is going to win, yes, you have to bring out your base, but you're also going to have to pick off some of those Obama voters that switched to Trump. You're also going to have to pick off some of those voters who just voted for Trump that might have buyer's remorse. If they think that the Democratic Party, who pushed this discredited Russiagate bullshit for 3 years, is now pushing another nonsense thing that Donald Trump could sell them is a witch hunt, is a deep state conspiracy to to fight his movement and to make America bad again, or however he's going to phrase it. He is going to bring out every single member of his base. And why that's important? The polls right now are very similar to the polls in 2016 that showed Donald Trump would be crushed. I do not believe the polls represent the actual Trump base, because there are people in that Trump base that do not show up on polls. There are people that do support Trump that do not actually tell pollsters they support Trump. Remember the hidden Trump voter in 2016? I agree with the principle that no one is above the law, but let's call bullshit when we hear bullshit. We don't have a genuine legal system in this country. We have a legal system for black and brown people and Native Americans people. That's on the bottom of the barrel. That's our first legal system. Excuse me, that's one legal system. Then we have a legal system for like semi-privileged white people, middle-income white people, and then you have a legal system for Jeff Bezos and the Waltons and the Clintons and the Trumps and the Kochs. So there's three different legal systems. We don't have a rule of law in this country. We have a governmental system that is legalized bribery and legalized theft. The government allows corporations to steal our money in tax cuts, deregulation, subsidies. So I don't really want to hear it with the Democrats and the rule of law. They don't give a flying fuck about the rule of law. We are illegally in Syria. We are illegally sanctioning other countries. There are laws against this. We are illegally helping Saudi Arabia commit genocide in Yemen. Okay? We are illegally trying to insert new presidents in Venezuela and probably soon in Iran. So I don't really want to hear about the rule of law from Nancy Pelosi and these people that don't care about the actual rule of law. Okay? But at the same time, do I think Donald Trump should be impeached? Yes, I do. I do. But I'm just talking about, if these people who are saying their number one goal is to remove Donald Trump, then you have to think about the strategy to remove Donald Trump. And I'm telling you, somebody said on Twitter, do you have any evidence to back this up? Yeah, I went around the country 3 years ago. I interviewed probably, 500 to 1,000 of his supporters. I got the therapy bills to prove it and the PTSD to prove it. I know the Trump supporter pretty well. And some of you have seen those interviews, both from my time at the Young Turks and now at Status Quo. You are not going to convince them to vote for a Democrat other than Trump based on policy. You might convince them to vote for a Democrat over Trump based on populism, i.e. Bernie Sanders, but you're not going to convince them to switch because like Donald Trump said something inappropriate on the phone with the Prime Minister of Ukraine. That's not going to happen. If and when Donald Trump wins re-election, and when the exit polls say people voted for him because they thought it was a witch hunt against Donald Trump over this, you have yourselves to thank. We're living in different times than Richard Nixon. Okay? Politics is a blood sport now. And there is also way more of an information war going on than there was in 1973 and 74. But I think this is going to help Trump's re-election. And worse, I think we already have a media landscape, both corporate and frankly, those that call themselves independent, that don't cover real stories and don't cover real important stories. If you thought it was already bad, you wait now. You are not going to get any news coverage of real things and real important stories for the next year. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.